was May 14th, 1948. For the first time in more than 2,000 years, there was a Jewish state in the world. A day that was filled with tears of joy from many, but it was filled with other things as well, because also heard were the sounds of gunfire in the distance as fighting broke out between Jews and Arabs immediately following the British Army withdrawal earlier in the day. It caught a lot of people by surprise. Some people said it simply was just the way business was done in that part of the world. At midnight local time, on the 15th of that year, the State of Israel was officially born, and the world has never been the same.
It's the port of Haifa, and the time is the summer of 1948. A turning point in history for the people of Palestine, the Promised Land. The last British troops are leaving. They've had a difficult and thankless task to perform, and they've done it well. But now the task is over. The Union flag is hauled down, and the doors are closed for good on the British mandate, established 25 years before. Israeli troops take over. Ben-Gurion is the new nation's prime minister. And Palestine is now Israel.
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
But it's a nation menaced on almost every side by Arab hostility. And as its people get down to the tough task of tilling a barren soil, they must go armed.
The Six-Day War of 1967 is a brilliant military success for Israel, but it has a troubled legacy. It mires the country in years of occupation and violence, and leaves an Arab world so traumatized that more and more will turn to militant Islam. The Six-Day War will prove to be an unfinished war, just one battle in a conflict that has never ended.
For the third time since its birth as an independent state, Israel is embroiled in a war with the Arab nations that surround her. Her forces are outnumbered 2 to 1. So to allow every able-bodied Israeli to meet the challenge, Jews from overseas have come to give their support in work and in blood. The crux of the whole argument is Egypt's closing of the Gulf of Aqaba, Israel's oil supply route to the Red Sea. Colonel Nasser claims that the Gulf is Egyptian territorial water and that Israel has no right to its use. Israeli armor is facing a group of Arab countries united by defense agreements and in a far stronger position to sweep Israel into the sea. So far, the big powers have stood back in a state of virtual neutrality, but the same big powers have been providing Israel and the Arab countries with all the machinery of war. On that score alone, they must accept part of the responsibility for the conflict.
In 1964, the Palestine Liberation Organization, or the PLO, was founded. Made up of different factions, the PLO has been at the heart of the struggle to regain Palestine ever since. After years of bloody infighting, the various Palestinian factions began to resolve their differences. Tumultuous events in the region were to prove both a solace and a setback for the Palestinian cause.
Throughout this century, bitterness between the Palestinian and Jewish people has robbed the entire region of its resources, its potential, and too many of its sons and daughters.
My friends, may Israel and America always stand together, strong and resolute. May we neither fear nor dread the challenges ahead. May we face the future with confidence, strength, and hope. May God bless the state of Israel, and may God bless the United States of America.
There was indeed a time when many people thought that perhaps there would be a peace process that would work between the Israelis and the Palestinians, but in 2000, the major fighting again began amongst the two in Israel and the occupied territories. It has continued since. One can only hope that one day both sides find some peace in that region. Rock on, true believers. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to join us 9 o'clock Eastern Time tonight for the Hard Line. I'll see you then. And also right back here tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, with the fastest show and the show that questions everything. This is MidPoint.